Hi and welcome back to BookTube with Amy. Today's going to be my most recent weekly wrap up. This week I've read a whole bunch of books that are for book clubs or read-alongs or projects that I can't really tell you too much about, so it's going to be a quick one. I don't know why I decided to read these all at the one time, knowing that I couldn't really talk too much about them on the channel. But the way my mood reader brain works is if I've got certain commitments that I need to read, I'm get them out the way in the first half of the month, so in the second half of the month you can just chill, read what you want, be a proper mood reader. So it's what I've done. So I read The Anomaly by Herve Letellier. This was the Fiction Addiction book club pick for February. I still don't know 100% how I feel about this book. I'm not going to say too much here. That's going to be the theme of this video apparently, because we will be having a live show about this book over on Angie's channel. So the basic premise of this is that a plane hits turbulence and then it lands fine, everybody goes back to their lives, and then months later the same plane with the same passengers and the same captain tries to land, but obviously these people are who they were months and months ago when they were originally on the plane, but the people who have landed and have been living their lives are obviously months on in their life. And it's just about the impact of that. That to me sounds like a really interesting book and something that I definitely would want to pick up. What the downfall of this for me was, personally, is I feel like this is a book of ideas more so than a cohesive novel, because when this happens we're following so many different characters and the author in here tries to touch on so many different subjects and talking points that nothing is ever really fully developed, so it's not as interesting for me as a reader. That I know that some people don't mind that because it's oh well, it's made me think, but I read because I want you to tell me the story. I don't want to have to make the story up in my head, because it's no my job, I'm not an author. But I found that quite annoying. And I feel like we could have probably just halved the amount of characters that we had in this book in total. And I feel like if we just focused on the people who were on the plane, a handful of them, and then them meeting their doppelgangers who then arrived off the plane, and the impact that that had in their lives, it would be a far better story for me. I'm a very character driven reader, so all of the thoughts and feelings and internal dialogues and conflicts of these characters are something that I would have found immensely fascinating. Unfortunately the book didn't take that approach. We maybe had 20 pages of them meeting their doppelgangers, if that. That's maybe an exaggeration actually. But Herve Letellier tries to touch on so many different things. He tries to touch on how scientists would try to deal with this situation and all the different theories that they would come up with, how American politicians would try to deal with this and what they would do to try and handle it, how religious leaders would deal with this and their opinions on it and how that would affect their religions going forward. Just so many things that it just didn't really work for me, to be honest. And I was left quite unsatisfied at the ending, because it's one of those books where the ending is ambiguous. And I don't mind that sometimes if the book has been amazing and then the ending's a bit ambiguous. I can live with that. And I think that sometimes that can be quite interesting and people can obviously have different interpretations, and so grand. But this whole book was fucking ambiguous, so for the ending to also be ambiguous I just found very annoying. Me and Ange actually both have separate theories on the ending, so I'm sure we'll talk about that on the live show. If you joined us to read this, let me know in the comments what you thought of this book so far. And the live show for this is going to be on Angie's channel. We're still to pick a date as of yet, but you will know as soon as we do. Oh, I rated this out of 3 stars. Totally forgot how to BookTube for a minute. I rated this a 3-star, but on reflection I think I'd maybe put this down to a 2, and I think I'm probably going to change my rating on Goodreads just after having had some time to mull it over and stuff. I think that there was more negatives for this book than positives, so I'm going to change this to a 2-star. So then for the Into the Library read along that I am also hosting with Ange, I read A Bone to Pick by Charlaine Harris. This is book 2 in the Aurora Teagarden mysteries series. I have just been on like such a cosy kick recently, so I've really been enjoying this series. I've never read them before. It's a reread for Ange, and the group that we're reading them with is quite mixed. It's some people's first times, some people have maybe read some of them and then fell away, and other people it's a reread. I really enjoyed this instalment. Again, I am not going to say too much because we all have a live show for this, and the live show for this is actually going to be on my channel this time, and I'll just pop a post up on the community tab when we've picked a date for that, so that everybody knows. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this instalment. I feel like this was far more what I was looking for going into a Charlaine Harris cosy mystery than the first one was. I had a couple of issues with the first one in that I felt like I didn't really get to know a lot of the characters and I didn't really get to know the town. Both of those elements obviously play a huge part in a cosy mystery, and I felt like the first one was like action to grip readers, that it was a wee bit lacking on some of the cosier elements that I says on the last live show I was hoping was going to play Mary apart, and I felt like it definitely did in this book. This book is so character focused. Like, there obviously is a mystery, but it's like so low stakes, I feel, compared to the first one, and we really just get to spend a lot of time with Aurora. We get to spend a lot of time with people in the town, Aurora's mum, some of her friends, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was a 5-star read for me. It was exactly what I wanted. It was so cozy and so cute, and I just love Aurora as a character. Like, she is so sassy, and like I just adore that. And she like, she's just very sure of herself in a way that I feel like Suki from the True Blood books wasn't. Like, and Suki got there in the end for sure, but Suki started as quite unsure of herself, you know, like not even in terms of her looks and her insecurities and stuff, even though she was, but I feel just like a bit unsure as to who she was as a person, and a lot of her opinions were, you know, maybe opinions for people around her, or she would need to really be confident or vocal. You know, when it came to Suki making decisions, she also needed a bit of a group consensus sometimes. And then like by the end of the book she was like, no, this is who I am. Whereas I feel like Ro is starting from that point. Like, she is like, right, okay, this is the situation, this is the decision that I'm making. And even when there are people in her life who is like, are you sure you want to do that? She's like, aye, I'm doing it. Like, I didn't ask for your opinion, I'm fine, and I'm confident in my decision, and that's something that I'm really enjoying. I already can't wait to pick up the next one, and the struggle is real not to just grab it off my shelf and start, but I'm going to be good and stick to the read along. 5-star read, thoroughly enjoyed it. Everything that I was looking for from a Charlaine Harris cosy mystery. The only issue that I had with this book was, again, just constantly telling us how short Aurora was. Like, we get it, cool, she's a short gal, just needed to be mentioned the once. So I read A Strange Hymn by Laura Thalassa, and this is the second book in the Bargainer series. Now I'm reading this as part of a read along that is being hosted by Ellie over at Errol Grey Books. I will leave her channel linked down below. Go check her out and subscribe if you haven't already. She's a class Australian YouTuber and she's such a cutie, she's so lovely, you'll no regret it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I obviously had issues with Rhapsodic, which pulled down my star rating. I didn't have the same issues in this book, which I'm very pleased to announce. So this book is just a linear timeline, so we aren't jumping backwards and forwards. So I didn't have any of the issues in this one like I did with the first one about their relationship and how potentially young Callie was. I didn't have any of that at all because they are both just like fully grown adults in this book, and I shipped it and it was great and it was fine and I didn't have any concerns. So that was a fun time. And the issue that I had with Temper, I actually found Temper is in this book quite a lot, which I was pleased about. And she becomes like one of our main cohort, and I actually didn't find her dialogue as jarring in this book. She's very lady and sweary, which like, so's your gal, so I can get behind that, and that's fine. I feel like I'm definitely temper is Scottish with some of her key phrases here. She knows how to swear Scottish, which is great. But I didn't have as many issues with her dialogue in here. I feel like it was very toned down and made him fitting with the character, whereas the issue in the last one is that it came across very stereotypical to me, and I didn't find that in here. I felt like there was still some of those traits, which is absolutely fine and fair, and it made sense for Temper to still have those. She's not going to change her entire dialogue from book 1 to book 2, but they weren't quite as frequent, and so it wasn't just constantly reinforcing you know, stereotypes, because Temper's your POC character. So I didn't have any of the issues that I had with the first book. Had a great time. This was a 5-star read for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am going to go into spoiler territory now, so if this is something that you're interested in reading, click to the next book. So in this book we find out a lot more about Des and about Desi's past, which I thoroughly enjoyed. We are sort of like learning his secrets at the same time as Callie is, and I'm really enjoying that. Turns out his family history is a wee bit more complex than you maybe would have imagined, and him and Callie have some more similarities in their parental relationships than you maybe would have originally thought, which makes sense as to why they like connected. There was also such interesting chatting here around the magic system in this book, and how Des and Callie's magic wasn't compatible, and about how like bonding and mating and everything works in the other world, and I loved that. I really enjoyed it. I think the only thing that might be irking some people about this book is like the plot points again are wrapped up pretty quickly, and we only get like a short amount of time where the like main crux of the story is actually happening. Like 3/4 of this book is just character waffle, and then like maybe the last quarter is actual plot that we're here for. But I'm a character driven reader, so I really don't mind that. Like I'm really enjoying just watching these two characters fall in love and get to know each other, and Des took her around to like shore bits of the kingdom, and I really loved that. It reinforced all the world building for me. So the fact that the plot in this one was wrapped up quite convenient doesn't really bother me a huge amount, because all the other stuff is really good. I really like the characters, I like the relationships, I like the family dynamics, the complexity, the world and the magic system. I think that if all that was to be minced, I'd be like, oh, eye roll, like can we have some plot please? But I'm loving it, and I really want to pick up the next one as well. But I am not. I'm so enjoying this series, and I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying it, especially considering like they're quite spicy, and that's not something that I ordinarily enjoy, but I feel like it's no overdone in here. Like there's no just sex scenes in here for the sake of sex scenes. Like, so all that intimacy that is happening between Des and Callie is just like there to reinforce their bond and their relationship, and so I'm like, cool, I'm here for it. And I feel like there is enough other stuff happening that the sex scenes aren't detracting for anything. It's not like I'm like, oh great, another sex scene, like can we just get back to this, or can we do that instead? Like I don't feel like it's pointless, and I don't feel like there's too much yet. Like actually I think there's maybe only a couple of sex scenes per book, if that. And so I don't mind that as much, because it's no constant all the time, and I'm having a great time with it. I'm enjoying it. Who knew? And then I read Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, and I'm not going to say too much on this because me and Simon read this for a book 101 coming to your screens soon. I really enjoyed this. So I've never read a Thomas Hardy. This popped my Hardy virginity. I have been getting Hardy FOMO for quite a wee while, because he's Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and Jen over at Jen the Librarian, because they both hype Hardy son off it, and I've been like, I need to get on this train, I need to get on this train. So last year, like probably at the beginning of last year, I says to Scott, what Hardy would you recommend for me to start with? Because me and Scott although we read massively different books, sometimes there is like a sweet spot in me and Scott's reading where like we're just like book soulmates and we like a lot of the same stuff. And so he had says that he thought Jude the Obscure would be right up my street because it is the most miserable novel written by Thomas Hardy and that I would enjoy that being me. And he was 100% on the money. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought that this was going to take me a wee while because it's like a chunky book, but it actually isn't. And for all it's a classic, like I didn't feel the writing was too dense or descriptive. I often feel sometimes with classics that you're just like, right, can we get to the point a wee bit? Like I didn't need a 16-page dialogue describing the setting, you know, like let's just get to it. And I felt like this just got to the point a bit. It was obviously descriptive to a point because it is a classic, but I didn't mind it as much, and I didn't feel like the description took away from anything. I actually felt like it added to the environment, which is rare for me because usually I'm just like, can we hurry up? Like I don't want to know. Just get to the character, please. I really loved Jude, and I just want to give him like 18 bajillion cuddles. This was really dark and really funny in places. I don't know if I was meant to find it funny, but some of the stuff that just happened in here had me chuckling because like I felt so bad for Jude, and it was one of these situations where it's like, if you don't laugh you'll greet. And so and at times I was just like laughing away like, oh Jude, typical you. I liked how his character was done in this book because everything bad that could ever happen to a person happens to him, bless him. And like there's a point in here that, oh my god, I was actually howling like with laughter, right? Because spoilers for this, even though like it's been out for however many years, he goes to kill himself at one point and like he decides he's going to go drown himself in the lake, but the lake is frozen over, so he's like, it's fine, I'll just go stand in the ice. And like even the ice doesn't break. So he just decides to go get drunk, and like I love that. Like I was absolutely laughing away. Like he can't even kill himself, right? And I know that that shouldn't be funny, and it's probably supposed to be quite heartbreaking and quite shocking, but I've quite a dark sense of humour, and so that just like tickled me. And Jude, bless him, like he always has hopes and dreams, and no matter how many times life like batters him down, and it does, he's still like, oh but maybe like I could just do this instead. And he's like just a wee eternal optimist, I feel. And life is like not no happening. And he's very dramatic as a character, which I vibe with. Like as soon as there's any tiny wee inconvenience, he's just like, oh wish I was dead. Like that's me. I get very dramatic or like the tiniest wee things. I remember once I came home from work and like had a proper absolute wobbly meltdown because I had made dippy eggs and toast, and I was walking through to the living room and like my eggs fell, and I just like took to bed like I was in the Victorian age and told Simon not to talk to me for the rest of the day, like because I was just that depressed about my eggs. So I get Jude's level of drama. I just thought it was brilliant. I thought this was really well done. I'm not going to say any more than that because I'm obviously going to do a book 101 where I need to like battle it out with Simon to maintain that this deserves to be a classic. So I don't want to give all my points away. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is a 5-star read, and I'm so glad that I read this, so thank you so much to Scott again for recommending it to me. Phenomenal read. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that you're reading at the moment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!